Unexpected Journey, Memoir of a Siberian Deportee by Juzė Avižienytė-Žukauskiene. Translated from Lithuanian and narrated by Giedrė Kumpikas, niece of the author, and by Isabelle Kumpikas, the sister of the author. Chapter 15, Last Stage. After Kolpashevo, I was no longer able to account for Dr. Valancevichus and the teacher in childbirth. The Estonian and Latvian groups remained. At Krylovka, they decreased again. It was not difficult for us to move. The children were not small anymore. I was strong, and my husband, though still sick, was able to walk by himself. The poor Budrevičiūtė sisters were still struggling with their immobile brother, and to cross over onto a barge with such a burden by means of a couple of small boards stretched from shore was quite a task. The rain began to pour, and with what poor timing. If it had only rained when we were dying of thirst in the train cars while traveling over the immeasurable, but we measured them nonetheless, expanses of Russia, and especially Siberia. Actually, even there it rained one time, once we had crossed over the range of the Urals. At that time, everyone crowded near the two little windows, nailed over with wire mesh. Some had stuck out a cup, others a small plate. Those who had nothing stuck out their palm. We were trying to catch raindrops with which to wet our lips. And now, surrounded by water, even though it was brown, rain was pouring on our heads. Our clothes and things got soaked. We sought shelter where it dripped less, but each one was guarding his territory, and this territory was very limited. The sky, covered with lead-colored clouds, was weeping and weeping, perhaps shedding tears over our sad fate, and did not spare water, which was so pitifully lacking 2 or 3 weeks ago. Finally, at dusk, we reached our permanent settlement, called Komarovka, which in Lithuanian would mean mosquito place. The name itself was an indication of what kind of place it was. We received the order to move out, and this time permanently. We all grabbed our bundles and, sliding on the dirty little bridge of 2 contiguous boards, we crowded onto shore. After a long journey by water, even the solid ground seemed to sway. At Krylovka, new superiors had taken us over, the Commandant Shabalin and 2 militiamen. Our group had remained rather large. Since it was summer vacation, we were shown the way to the school. That was our temporary shelter. Our bundles, rolled in the coal dust at Novosibirsk, soaked through by the rain, and also rolled on the dirty shore of the docking area, as well as we ourselves, looked terrible. Water was dripping from us, our shoes were encrusted with dirt and were falling apart. Our bodies distorted, slipping and sliding, we dragged our things. What surprised me was that everyone was in a terrible hurry, splashing through the mud, sliding, rushing headlong for shelter. Why hurry so? We were already wet. But it became apparent that the smarter ones were hurrying for a reason. Space was limited. The ones who got there first settled in better. Our family and the Shitchkai came last, and the only space remaining was in the corridor full of water from the dirt brought in by many feet. Having thrown our things down into that morass, we went to look around to see what was next. But all 7 classrooms were already densely inhabited. The commandant was turning about here and there, as well as the director of the school and the chairman of the collective farm. The director looked at us with sympathy, the commandant with spite, and the chairman looked worried. Finally, the director, having remained alone, came up to us and said, "You will get no rest here. You can't lie down. There's not even room to sit down. If you don't touch anything, I'll let you into the teacher's room." We assured him that we wouldn't touch anything. He unlocked the door, and we found ourselves in a bright, clean room, actually rather crammed with school treasures, tables, chairs, and other things. On the wall hung a large map of the USSR. We thanked the director again and assured him once more that we would not touch anything. The dirty things and our shoes we put near the door and took off our dirty clothing. Our suitcases had not soaked through completely. We had some dry underwear in them. Our bedding was only wet in parts. We felt happy, but it was difficult with food. Our food reserves were finished. Besides, we wanted at least a glass of hot water. But alas, here it would have been possible to go to the local inhabitants and buy something, but the rain kept pouring down as if from a bucket. Those who were not deterred by the rain and determined to go look for something to eat came back disappointed. The locals said that they had not seen bread in 10 years, and as far as potatoes were concerned, they were allowed to grow only 3 ars, and this was not enough for their own families. They could only sell 1 to 2 liters of milk. Even that was a stroke of luck, especially for those who had small children. Our men also made an expedition. Each one brought back a liter of milk. We took the small remnants of our precious dry bread, which we had bought in Novosibirsk, and dividing it among ourselves, chewed it as if it were something sacred. The bread, somewhat moldy and dry, still was very delicious with milk. My husband and I said we didn't want any milk because the children were looking at it with avid eyes, then questioningly at us. How could we want any milk? 1 liter for 5 people. Drink, my children, drink, I urged, but they still did not believe us and left us some. Having had supper, each one of us took up something. My middle son Stasiukas and the oldest one Liudas busied themselves with their large art notebook to check and draw our itinerary from Kaunas to Komarovka, according to the notes from our journey. Zukauskiene and I picked up our dirty clothes and barefoot waded down the slushy, muddy road to the river, at least to wash some of the dirt off. Some others came with the same idea, especially since it had stopped raining. The militiaman said to us, "Wait, you'll tidy up tomorrow. You'll be able to wash yourselves in the sauna and do your laundry." And so in the year 1941, on July 28th, that is, after 6 weeks of arduous travel, subjugation, deprivation, hunger, and thirst, for the first time we stood on solid ground. That distant Siberian land welcomed us with tears. It was actually not so solid. After so much swaying on the train and in the barges, it seemed to us that the ground was still unstable. Notes. Budrevičiūtės, in Lithuanian, the last name of unmarried women frequently ends in ūtė. Šečkai, in Lithuanian, the plural for family names frequently ends with ai. Airs, 100 square meters or 119.6 square yards. Stasiukas, a diminutive form of the name Stasys. Zukauskiene, in Lithuanian, a married woman's last name, in most cases has the ending iene.